Hey, what's going on, 8BitTendies?
What's going on? Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, that's all good, man. So, for those that don't know, you're essentially an entrepreneur, a rapper, and also a content creator. And we were just having a quick little chat before the podcast started. And I do want to go over some of the stuff we already spoke about. But the first question I'd like to ask you is like, how did you originally come across Gala Games?
Oh, so I originally came across Gala when I was at DecentralCon in Miami. I think it was the first DecentralCon conference that they ever held. And I was interested in, NFTs in general. I heard a few game companies were going to be out there. I didn't know anything really about Gala back then, I don't think. I mean, I think I've heard of them and the coin, but I've never looked too much into it. And so I was at the conference. Oh, you know what? I was actually meeting with Ryan Matta. He's another content creator, and like we linked up online. And I was like, you know what? Let me go out there, meet another content creator in the space. Maybe I could pick his brain. And so I was out there. It was a 2-day conference, and right when you walk in, Gala had the biggest booth. So you
Oh,
walk
really?
in. Yep, they had the massive booth, and they had two areas set up. One area or one side had three TVs, and then on the other end there was three TVs, and then spider tanks was set up on all of them with computers. Anyone could just kind of sit down and play,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was there playing for the first few days. And on the second day, as the conference was kind of closing up, there was a few computers open, so I sat down and just kind of started playing. And then next to me, there was this guy, and apparently we were versing each other 1v1. And so I was winning against him, and then he was like, "Oh man, you're good, whatever." And then we just kind of started chatting, and it ended up being a crypto view. And
Oh, yeah.
so crypto view, yep, he basically is just another kind of content creator or ambassador within the Gala ecosystem. And he was just telling me about how spider tanks worked, the different levels of ownership, how you can own a tank and rent it, and then own the land where you play, and then the world, and all this type of stuff. And I never knew that all that was possible, right? And I'm a gamer. I've been gaming for all my life, and so I'm a big fan. And when I sat down and I played that game, like I liked it in the first 5 minutes. I was like, you know what, I would play this even if it didn't have any type of like earning mechanism. It's a quick, game you could sit down and play really quickly. And there was no other games like that within the crypto space. Everything was like those wolf games where they were kind of browser staking Ponzi schemes. There were no, yeah, there were no true games at that time. So that was like one of the first games that I was introduced to. And I think even Jason Bitbender was there. I think he gave me a Gala card or his business card or something like that, because I met him real quick. And yeah, so that was the first time I heard of Gala, and it piqued my interest, and I decided to kind of start looking into it afterwards. And I don't know if you know much about my channel, but I used to cover just kind of general crypto content, and decided to basically pivot over to specifically blockchain gaming content and Web3 gaming, NFT gaming, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cover that stuff now. Really lost interest in anything else in the crypto space, DeFi stuff, nodes, etc. Uh, Except earning or owning a bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum as an investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is that nothing much has changed with Crypto View because he still loses in spider tanks a lot. And I'm only
He's there
stirring you
for
up,
the fun
Crypto
of
View.
it.
Yeah, he's there for the love. But yeah. So like with this event and everything, man, like was it like who was hosting the event? Was it like another token or cryptocurrency that was paying for it, or was it like a community event?
Yeah, I think it was a community event. There wasn't a specific sponsor. It was actually sponsored by various different companies that were there. So it was almost like a traditional conference where there's a ton of different booths set up there, a few kind of celebrity guests, and different companies that were giving speaks and talks. But it was NFT based. So in Miami, they do NFT week, and it's very art focused because Miami, you have a lot of artists, graffiti artists, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was really based on a lot of NFT art, a few different kind of NFT random projects, and a few gaming. project as well, which again, that was what what Gala was doing out there. So yeah, I think they hold one maybe once a year now. I haven't gone to one since.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to ask you, man, like, and just so I don't butcher the name of it, like, I know that you're signed to the Gala Games. Do they consider it a label, or is they just say it's a platform?
Yeah, Gala Music, yeah. So no, they don't consider it a label. It's honestly, yeah, it's still weird to give you like that 2 sentence summary of exactly what Gala Music is, and they think of it as like a partnership. So right now, what they're trying to do is aggregate a few big artists alongside a few emerging artists like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to create this place where you have almost a more intimate connection with artists versus, I guess, how the traditional music world works, where you really don't have access to the artist. And so Gala Music is trying to create experiences on top of someone owning your NFT, where since it's a smart contract, maybe you can add some sort of utility to these NFTs, and you can create almost like an all access store for that artist where you can support that artist. You can even think of it almost like fantasy football, where you can kind of bet on different artists. So I believe that they're going to introduce certain mechanisms in which you'll be able to kind of stake your coin with an artist, and that'll give you certain benefits. That'll give benefits to the artist as well. So it's interesting what they're doing, right? It's different, and to give you a little background as well, back here, this room specifically where that chicken drum is, that is my booth, and I used to own an independent record label, and so
Cool.
we tried to help younger emerging artists try to kind of break into the music world, because when you're an artist, especially when you're starting out, most artists are very young. They don't have good income coming in, and you're not going to make it in the music world if you don't have either really good connections or a lot of money for marketing. And not a whole lot of people are there to help you out. So we wanted to make an independent record label where we get artists kind of started, offering a lot of these services for free, like recording, taking photos, videos, etc., and almost packaging them up to be then picked up by a label. And then that's where we were kind of make a cut. But I bring that up because I feel that's similar to what Gala is helping do with emerging artists, where they're helping promote. They're putting them on their platform. They're partnering with them to create assets that they can push out to fans, etc. So I'm interested in that's why I was interested in contributing to their ecosystem.
Yeah. So a couple of questions then, because I know that you are signed to Gala Music at least. Like there have to be some form of contract. But so like this is the thing that got me, man. Like you're listed under a pseudonym. Is that the correct word for it, or is it just called a rapper name?
So me personally, I have kind of an online alias where I keep a lot of not only my artists and music stuff, but my professional work portfolio stuff. So I'm a photographer and a videographer in real life outside of crypto and creating content. And I keep all that under Bobby Millette as well. And part of the reason is, I came from the world of digital marketing, and I understand how powerful a unique name is. And not only did the story behind how I got that name, not only was that unique, but it was a unique name in itself, where when you searched it on Google, nothing came up. And it's really hard to find a name like that, right? If you search my name, my real name, a lot of different people show up. And so it's much harder to rank. So basically, I chose that name, and I keep all of my stuff under there. So right now, if you Google Bobby Millette, basically I take up the first and second page of Google. That was why I kind of chose that alias. But yeah, it's an alias for my professional work and my musical work.
Yeah, cool. So like I was looking at the NFT, man, and they put it down as like a common. This is the part that I didn't really understand. because like you sold out the 100 NFTs that you had within
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, so actually it was under a minute.
Under a minute. All right,
um,
cool.
yeah, so it was 100 NFTs for $100 each, and yeah, when they dropped, I sold out under a minute. And honestly, that caught me by surprise. I didn't have any idea how it would do because of the fact that really no one knew me in that ecosystem that much. And when I participate in the discords, I go by 8BitTendies. So almost maybe not even a week before is when I kind of started introducing myself, and we did an episode called Top of the Drops, and that's
Hmm.
where they showcase artists. And I did a collaboration with Taco where it was more of an interview, and
Hmm.
I told people who I am, that I run 8BitTendies. I'm a content creator in the Web3 space as well. I think it just kind of clicked with people. I think if you have a decent story, people want to have a connection with you, which again, why I like that ecosystem, because I'm in the Discord and I'm talking with people, and eventually I recognize names, and it starts to feel like a little family, at least at this point, as far as how small it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sold out under a few, so 100 NFTs. So basically $10,000 in total of sales.
Yeah. Well, it makes you think. Like, I'm guessing they wouldn't have known either, like how fast it would sell out. But if you're going to have 100 sell out in like a minute, that probably would have been good to at least try 1,000.
Yeah, it's hard to find that sweet spot, but here's the way that works. So and I don't have it totally 100%, but to give you an idea, if they bring on an emerging artist who kind of doesn't have that big of a track record yet, they start out with a smaller quantity to start out with, and that's why your track initially starts as a common. But for example, if they have a big, well-known artist already on their platform, like Snoop Dogg, then he has more freedom, of course, to then maybe drop something like the stash box that he dropped, or to drop multiple NFTs at a time, or some of them being rarer than others or at different quantities. So when you're an emerging artist, the first 100 drops are kind of like a test. And so let's say maybe you sell only 50 or 20 or 35 or something like that. Um, that's not going to upgrade you next time you drop another song to be able to drop a bigger quantity or make it rarer. You know what I mean? But if I sold out, then they're like, all right, well, this guy's selling out. There's demand. So maybe next one we drop 150. And then if that sells out, maybe the next one we drop 200. And then so it's almost like a leveling system, which is the gamification that they're adding into it.
Yeah. Well, I'd consider like a 100 NFT drop as at least legendary rank, in my opinion. So if I had known about you at the time and I bought one, I'd be pretty well happy with that. Just for the fact that it's such a small run, you know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people were, and that was what surprised me too, because after when it dropped, there was a lot of people on there like, "Damn, I wish I got one. I wish I got one." And a lot of people were kind of saying the same thing. It was my initial drop, and it was a limited drop, and so I think it's a little bit more sentimental. That's kind of what happened with. I think the first track that dropped on Gala Music was a Snoop track, and it was his first track. So I made sure that I bought that one at least for like just I have the first one. So it's a little bit more important to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get on OpenSea after this and I'm going to try to buy one.
I think you can.
So, in regards to that, man, like you have one NFT drop. I've heard probably more than one song. I believe so anyway, like when I was like sort of scoping around trying to look at what sort of music you made.
Mhm.
And like is there going to be future drops or they haven't communicated that at all?
Yeah. So let's just I can't give you an exact date, but let's just say I'm dropping something around NFT NYC. So that will be my second drop. And right now I'm working on some of the promotional material for it. If some people are a little savvy, then maybe they've heard it already. I drop little teasers here and there. Part of what I'm trying to do as well is for every track that I drop, I want to at least add something interesting behind it, like an interesting story of the track, um, how I created it, maybe the lyrics, what a breakdown, just something of value. Because I feel like when you drop a song for $100, especially to the general audience, like right now, if I talk to people who don't know about Web3 or Gala Music, they don't understand the concept of buying $100 song when you can go on iTunes and buy one for 99 cents or listen to it for free. So my whole proposition is to always provide some sort of value, which is why I at least myself try to be active in the Discord. So at least people have a connection with me and can ask me things. And I want to start creating content for my songs. And then eventually I will drop some other items aside from music that people can kind of start collecting.
Yeah. So being someone that had an independent record label, like how does the pricing structure work in comparison to what you would have provided to specific artists that you're trying to help and Gala Music?
Yeah. So when it came to our record label, you know, a lot of it was still in the air as far as how we would price things, because it wasn't like you know, we called it a record label, but it wasn't kind of a traditional model where you do like a 360 contract and you just kind of take the bulk percentage of the artist's stuff. Because a regular record label essentially just gives you a loan. You know, it's like, oh, I'm signed for $1 million. You think you have $1 million, but you really have a loan for $1 million. And out of that $1 million, they have to pay for your music videos, your marketing, your photos, your trips. And then out of that, whatever you sell, you have to pay back. And whatever you're making on top of the $1 million, that's what you keep, essentially. A lot of people don't know that. And with Gala, it's less of a record label and more of a partnership. So the artist gets the bulk. It's a 70-30 split. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a really good split, honestly, because they help promote you. As you could see, you know, we do collaborative projects, and so they get their cut. And since it's an NFT and there's a third party marketplace, you know, there's royalties built in when anyone buys or sells outside of the ecosystem as well. And then I believe the artists also get paid for plays. So it's a pretty interesting model that they're using. I like it. You know, I'm happy with it. Honestly, before this, I wasn't really doing anything with my music, so it's better than nothing.
So you'd have a ton of like songs that are just like sitting on a hard drive. Then I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've been making music for a long time, and I'll tell you, you know, part of the reason that I've never kind of publicly put a lot of it out there was because I never really wanted to become famous or become an artist per se. Like, I don't want to go perform and do tours and things of that nature. I think of myself more so as like a storyteller and just a content creator in general. Music and audio is just a different medium of me expressing a story. So I think more so of my music is little short stories, and I want to attach other elements to it. So a lot of my songs, I want to put videos out there alongside the music, because the audio is almost just like 50% of the actual story. You need the visuals as well to kind of see the full picture. And so I think that now with the power of, like, for example, like AI, now that I can use Midjourney and create some pretty impressive artwork, and it's getting to the point where you're going to be able to use AI to create videos.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get to that point where I'm going to be able to create my full picture vision of like what I really want to put out there, because prior, you know, it takes a lot of money to make visuals. It takes a lot of money for a really good video. It takes a lot of money for animation, which I want to do a lot of stuff animated. Big fan of, you know, I watch a lot of anime, I watch a lot of cartoons and whatnot, and so I kind of want to put out my songs in those different mediums. I'm a nerd at heart. So yeah. But
well,
yeah,
as you can see in the background, man, I've got Naruto, and I don't know if you can see it there now, but Tokyo Ghoul and a couple other ones as well. So I'm pretty much into anime a lot. There's one thing I wanted to ask, and thanks, man. One thing I wanted to ask, like in layman terms, because like obviously I don't know nothing about music, and I'm not going to pretend to. But like when you said the 360 contracts with general record labels, what does that actually mean? Like a 360? Because
It essentially means like they own everything you do now and in the future. So anything that you want to put out. So versus like, all right, this is what you currently have. You have a set of tracks, you have a little bit of merch, and a few other items that you sell. All right, well, if you ever decide to do anything in the future related to music, then we also get a part of that. That's essentially what they call a 360 deal. The record label basically just owns you, and they decide when you get to put out your music or not. A lot of artists have that issue, even big artists. Lil Wayne had a big issue with Birdman, where he had one of his albums that he couldn't put out for years because Birdman didn't want to put it out. And they anytime you want to get into a different venture, they take a piece of the cut. They basically prey on young people that don't understand the game, because a lot of people blow up young. They don't have any business sense when they're younger, and they're just happy to see $1 million on a check, and they find out later that, oh shit, I don't own any of my music or my intellectual property.
Yeah. So with like you said that like generally with the 360 contracts, you're not really getting like a cash payout. It's essentially a loan to promote your own content. So how does that work in regards to Gala then? Because if you're doing a limited run of NFTs, like is it just like pretty much promoted on Gala Music itself, or if you do sell out like you did, is there like a production budget that they give to promote your stuff to the masses, or like do you know the answer at all to that, or you're not sure?
I know part of it because I've been talking with them about it, because I've kind of given them my big picture ideas of all the things that I want to do, especially because they have 3 different ecosystems that I kind of participate in. I would love to integrate into the film stuff, right? Because I think that film and music integrate perfectly, because artists, they also make visuals, they create music videos, they create short stories. So to be able to take some of the talent and directors and producers from the film ecosystem and collaborate with music would be interesting. But so I was asking them, how does this work? What does Gala actually do for the artists, right? If it's a partnership, is it just a matter of like they just put you on the site and then whatever you sell, you sell? Um, and basically, there's not a complete and solid concrete answer yet. But let's just say that yeah, the artists that they work with, they will help produce assets for them as long as it's in a reasonable range of it's doable, it's in the budget.
Yeah. Yeah, well, with like even spider tanks and like just general gaming, like I'm sure it's not going to work for every game, but if I could like cruise around in my spider tank and choose what music I want to listen to if I own the NFT, like that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah, and I've talked to them about this, because I know Spider Tank is kind of open to integrating already with music, because they've done the Snoop Spider Tank, and whenever you get MVP, the song plays. So that's a perfect integration right there. And so I've talked to them about how this works. And the tricky part is that, we got to remember that Gala brings on sometimes third party developers, like, Game Media, it's its own kind of studio. And so it's pretty tricky having them integrate with the rest of the Gala ecosystem when it's another developer. But definitely something that I think can be done for specific artists. I think they're more keen to do that with the bigger, well-known artists first, like again Snoop, and then possibly, like say I get popular on the platform, maybe eventually something like that can happen.
Yeah, well, I think it can go deeper as well, man. Like, why can't you as an artist have your own spider tank skin that gets sold?
Yep.
You have the skin that's attached to the NFT and maybe a couple of little emojis. Like, how cool would it be smoking everyone on tanks and then throwing up a Snoop Dogg skin? Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
And
just
I wanted to. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just as like another way of like trolling your opponents and adding that sort of like different like communication in game without it being vocal.
Dude, I mean, you're 100% spot on, man. Like that would be cool to do. I think that's that's what's cool about that ecosystem. That if you can do things like that, that's what actually makes it unique. You know, my character or my artist is mostly represented as like a character, and so like he has a little icon for the head and the glasses and whatnot. So I even pitched, you know, can I get that icon as like, you know, a Spider Tank's icon, similar to like the Alienware that they did and the Coinbase one, right?
Yeah.
So again, something that small, right? It doesn't have to be costly. It's just a little icon that I can put on a tank. Maybe I offer 100 of them, right? So if you own my song or have bought a certain amount of songs, you get a free Bobby Millette Spider Tank icon that you can put on your tank.
Yeah, well, even if you could, like, you know, mint one of those, if you own one of your NFTs, that would be good.
Exactly. So those type of integrations is why I'm kind of excited, and I hope that they do stuff like that in the future.
Yeah, well, if Spider Tank's dev team is listening, which I'm sure they're not, but if they are, like, start integrating the shit out of all this stuff, because that's what's going to define you against normal Web 2 games. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
and it's full circle, man. It helps the artists. It makes it more fun for the game. Like, it's just it would make a heaps more fun ecosystem.
Yeah, you're right, man. I think, honestly, though, I think because of the stages that everything is in the ecosystem very early on, I think they just have to, those are kind of like the wish list items. And
Yeah.
so they have to deal with the more important stuff first. And once they get all that stuff knocked out, maybe, you know, these specific type of integrations can happen. But I don't know how it looks on the back end, but I'm sure it's not as simple as there's one place where all ecosystems kind of talk to each other and it's all streamlined. I'm sure it's a mess.
Yeah, I'm guessing it would be too, man. But, you know, gimmicks do sell. So
Yep.
So we'll go into Gala Games a little bit as well, man. Like, before, when we were talking, you said you're essentially a Web 2 gamer. I know for myself, I come from more of a background of like StarCraft 2, World of Warcraft, and, you know, pretty much RPGs and RTS. Like, what's your sort of game that you enjoy the most, like, as far as genre?
Dude, I literally just, so an hour ago, I came from my friend's house. We met up, bought some wings, and we were playing Smash Bros for a few hours.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to spend my weekend. And right now, because of, you know, the older you get, the less time you have. The games that are attractive to me now are the ones that I can kind of just pick up and put down. But I'm the biggest fan of MMORPGs. So I like long, drawn out games with a lot of side quests that I can explore all the little nooks and crannies. One of my favorite games is The Witcher 3. I love
Yeah.
Skyrim. All those type of games where I can kind of immerse myself into this world and be a different character. I love, and I've been gaming. You know, I remember setting up my Nintendo. So I've been playing since OG Mario. I've owned every system, you know, up to, you know, one of the latest Xboxes. But I played it all, and I love every type of genre game. But I think MMOs are probably my favorite, which is why I'm kind of excited for, or really excited for Mirandus, if, you know, they can put out what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, there you go, man. There's another idea, like, as far as Super Smash, like, have the different music artists have characters that you can fight on screen. There's another one.
Dude,
Like, how good
that's
would
what
that
I'm
be?
waiting for. They none of these Web3 companies have really come out with a good fighter. So it would be interesting. I think once the Web3 world gets big enough where you have enough established games, that's when you can actually probably truly make like a Smash clone, where you have different characters from different ecosystems. So some from Gala, some from Illuvium, some from different games, and then you create almost like a Web3 Smash. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some sort of fighting game. I don't know if maybe, you know, because there's no real economy or like the tokenomics for a fighting game would be weird. But that'd be exciting to see.
Yeah, well, like, that's probably one of the most easiest ways to do it, is that sort of game, because, like, you could use movie sets for the backgrounds, which would be cool. You could use
Mm-hmm.
the, like, artists and characters in movies as your essential fighters, and then you got the music in game, man. So, like, you could choose once again what you want or whatever. It'd be cool.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that's fucking. We got to get it done.
Well, the fact is, man, someone's going to do it one day, and like, but you know, Gala's in a very unique position as far as you know, taking on as much as they're trying to at one time.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out because I know that this world is really new, and you know we're riddled with scams and rugs, and at any time you find out, oh shit, there's no more liquidity and everything's shutting down, or you never know, right? Even within Gala, you know, I bought one of the Fuzzle projects, and so that kind of went nowhere. And they don't really do anything with them anymore. So that was one of my first experiences with like one of their, I guess, projects that failed. Um, but you know, it happens, and but I can only be optimistic to see like what happens in the future with Gala and hopefully these other Web3 ecosystems as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've said on previous podcasts, man, they really need some form of like staking mechanism. Like, I know a lot of people don't like staking and everything, but games have life cycles. And, you know,
Yeah,
like once that life cycle's gone, it's a hard argument to make to people that have just brought it maybe a week before it's essentially collapsed and paid top dollar, you know, to
so
hold on to that
how would the
NFT.
staking work? Sorry.
Well, they just need like I haven't really like I've tried thinking about it, but then I sort of get lost in thought, like because I don't know the small mechanics of how it worked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like say with like I've said in the past, like with an FPS game, most FPS games only have a 12-month life cycle. If you're looking at like Battlefield and Call of Duty, which are essentially the two biggest ones, it's like every single year they come out with a new version. It's only games like Fortnite and a couple of other battle royales that have seemed to last, and that's because they're constantly updating it. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you're going to come out of an FPS game, like all the items based off rarity should have some sort of staking mechanism where you get X amount of tokens for holding it. So that way,
Mm.
NFT prices will go up as well because not many people are selling because they can stake. Do you get what I mean? So, like, it
Yeah,
makes,
yeah.
but
It would
then
give you a reason to hold on to the asset.
yeah, but then from Gala's point of view, well, then it's less sales on OpenSea, less percentage that they can take for themselves. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I start thinking, oh, no, I don't think they'd want to do something like that because it might cut into their bottom end.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And you know, how clear are we on, you know, how Gala makes their income? Is it a lot like is it based on I guess what majority would it be based on things like that? OpenSea sales of their NFTs. How much is it based on the actual NFTs from their store? Because you know we don't really have a good idea of like their financial state or how much revenue they're bringing in at the moment. But I think yeah, something like that would be interesting where you can kind of stake your NFT, which makes you hold it longer, which makes you participate in that ecosystem a little bit more. Um, this is the tricky part with this because again, you know, we're trying new economic models that have never been um, tried and tested before. So it's a lot of experimentation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was like a little glitch there where I was talking and we are both talking, but I think that
Oh,
was on my end, just so you know. So that there might have to be a small cut there.
oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I didn't see you. It didn't show you talking.
Yeah, no, that's all good, man. Yeah, so essentially what I was saying is that they already have something similar to that with spider tanks and the PR mechanic because I can't remember exactly how it works, but I think if you like essentially transfer money out of Silk into Silk Ethereum and then you sell it, I think it affects the PR that you have. So you actually earn less in game.
Yeah, the what is it? Is it the honor system?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So that system is interesting. Yeah, because you know they had to think ahead about you know people who are going to just try to extract out the game, and they reference that exactly. They're like, you know, we have to kind of stop extraction. So people don't just come in here with the best tanks and then just pull silk out the game all day, every day at the same rate. So I think you're going to have to introduce a lot of those type of mechanisms in all games. and I guess they're testing it out on spider tanks now to see how it works. But based on how every game is going to probably have a different economy and tokenomic system and different ways that they're going to be integrating blockchain, it's all going to be different, which is a tough problem to solve.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, man, like the argument the community would make in the early days of like as far as even spider tanks is that because people are financially invested, it means that they're going to just stick around and play the game. Well, we know now that that doesn't work with spider tanks because, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to say how many players they have, but I'm guessing it's around the 100 mark. And, you know, like look how many NFTs are being sold. So obviously it doesn't matter. It actually really is the game, not the NFT purchase itself. And it's like, you know, how are you gonna come at, like, if Mirandus, man, like that could be a never ending game. Like look at World of Warcraft, that's been going 20, 25 years. So I'm putting my money into that. Yeah, I look at League of Legends, that's still going, Dota's still going, it's still got a healthy fan base. So Spider Tanks to me was more of a better bet than what it would be to buy into something that's like an FPS. Unless if it's like open world and they're going to keep updating it, you know what I mean? Like I like Superior, but I couldn't see Superior lasting longer than Spider Tanks or Mirandus if they get the mechanics right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Superior is going to be. I'm really curious to see when they come out with their full economy and tokenomic system and all that, what that's going to play like, and if it's going to be enough for people to stick around. I do have a few guys that's all that they do, superior, 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 but they're more challenge runners, and that's possibly how they're going to distribute coins possibly in that game. It's maybe, you know, top 10 in the challenge leaderboards get some sort of token distribution, because I don't see how it would play out like when you're playing like 3-player co-op or single player or whatever. But you're right, you know, some games they need to be the next League of Legends, the next big MMO that people live in, the next Rust or even like DayZ, which people are still playing. And that's the hard part because there are so many games that come out that try to be that. And they're just kind of all the same thing, which when I guess when you introduce the earning potential, like if you had, you know, I know they're trying to do like their own battle royale with like Grit. And honestly, Grit doesn't look all that great or well polished. But yeah, if you can kind of match the quality of another current battle royale, but then also introduce some sort of earning mechanism, because I tell you what, I've been watching a lot of Rust videos lately. There's a few creators that make some really funny Rust videos, and they have their own world in which they treat it like real life and they role play and they trade items, and all they're missing is that element of like adding some blockchain integration in there, because, you know, they treat every single item that they have as like this is valuable, and they really take it seriously. I think that's what you're going to get with Mirandus. I hope so. And then if that's the case, then you'll probably have a long lasting world. Superior, who knows how long. I think Superior is one of those games where you're going to have to constantly be dropping challenges, bosses, all types
new
of
content.
All the time. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, you know, they can do it with like a lot of cosmetic items and whatnot, similar to Fortnite or integrations with other companies, but that one's going to be interesting. And Spider Tanks, I don't know, man. Spider Tanks is tricky. I haven't played the recent update. I heard it's pretty good. But yeah, Spider Tanks, it's missing something to bring in the masses. It needs something, I guess, a little bit more competitive, that would attract those like kind of League of Legends type players where they play it relentlessly.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, like, you know, with League of Legends, man, you've got an interactive map. You know, like in Spider Tanks, you got like, you know, the chickens. Like you're either putting them in a barrel, you're holding one as a flag, or what's the other game mode that you do with a chicken? Maybe that is the only two.
Oh yeah, the chicken runner where you have to stay on the chicken and
the big chicken, the robo chicken.
That's similar to Overwatch where you have to transport the crate or whatever.
Yeah, but with League of Legends and all that sort of stuff, like you got creeps. So you've essentially got, AI monsters that you have to kill. Like you could throw something like that on a map and then everyone's rushing to it to try to get the last kill to get like a little buff, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like there's all different sort of stuff they can do, man. But at the end of the day, like it's the devs' creativity that's on the line. And it's all right for us to say about what they should do or what they could do. But at the end of the day, everything's on them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. And I don't know who I was talking to. It might have been Crypto Viewer Zorro, but I remember someone mentioning to me, which I didn't know. I guess that originally Spider Tanks was supposed to be a much bigger project, but for speed of delivery, they kind of landed on what they have now. So that could probably be the case as well. And then who knows? Maybe when it goes mobile. So I know they might have plans to go mobile, and then maybe that's where it kicks off. Maybe it's simple enough that it's easy to pick up on a mobile device that will attract a lot of casual players.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where it fits in, because
Yeah.
it doesn't fit in the League of Legends league right now.
See, the thing with mobile, man, like I don't mind the fact that it's on mobile. I'm not a mobile gamer. Like I just don't like playing on a pissy little screen and like having to use I feel like my fat thumbs are always covering up the asset that I'm trying to attack. You know what I mean? But like to me, man, like I just seen it as like a scapegoat. It's like, oh, all these people that are into fucking crypto and NFTs, like they're not generally people that are just using their phone all the time. Like they're fucking on the computer and they're looking at charts and all the rest of it. Like like if you look at the stereotypical trader of in crypto, they got like 7 screens. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure it's just for show, but like that's the stereotype anyway. And for them to just say, oh, like people don't understand, like they don't want to buy in-game assets or whatever, like Fortnite and stuff, man, has a massive amount of PC gamers and they're used to microtransactions. Like if Fortnite comes out, man, and they start limiting skins and they and they sell them for even $20 like they're doing now, but you've got a secondary market to sell them on, like every other game's fucked as far as NFT in games. Like they're just going to take the market share instantly.
Yeah, that's part of the argument that I have sometimes when I'm dealing with, a Web 2 gamer. I hate to separate our communities, and I was funny story side tangent. But I tweeted earlier because I commented on Kirk TV's YouTube post because he basically has a channel, 50,000 subscribers, and he creates videos where he just does commentary on upcoming MMOs.
Yeah.
And he also does videos on crypto gaming projects that have failed. And so he is your average traditional gamer that really hates NFTs or anything to have to do with NFTs. And he recently made a video on on-chain gaming. So I was like, oh shit, let me watch this, because he critiqued one of his videos, and I made a comment on there, and then he actually made a response video to my comment. And so right now on YouTube, I'm getting all these notifications because like we're in this like comment war of like going back and forth on, NFTs and traditional games and play to earn and the value of it, etc. And that's part of my argument as well, is that like we're not doing anything a lot different than what a lot of current games are doing. There are all these microtransactions already happening within games. Why not just make it so that you own those assets and can put them on third-party marketplaces? Like it's not much different than what's going on. And you think of games like World of Warcraft, where that happens already, where people grind and build accounts and sell the accounts, and they sell the items within the games already, but they just do it essentially illegally because they're breaking terms of service. So all we're trying to do here is just create an integrated marketplace for you to do that. So it's a very interesting conversation. I think that a lot of Web 2 gamers just, they hear the word NFT and it just kind of go berserk. They have this like scathing reaction to that term. But at the same time, you got to agree with them a bit, because like if all they're seeing is like Axie Infinity and some of these projects that scammed and rugged, or some of these really shitty projects that come out that have like crypto in the game and title, crypto land or something like that, or whatever meta world, and you can almost immediately tell it's gonna be trash, right? And not a lot of people, even within the Web3 space, which is interesting, even know about some of the big Web3 games that are being built. Sometimes I'm finding out about a new game from a different creator, and I'm like, holy shit, what is this game? I never even heard of it, and it looks really good. So it's a really, really small world, really, really early. So it's a curious time that we're in. And it's just going to be interesting trying to convince traditional gamers to come over to our end, which again, we're no different. I'm a gamer, you're a gamer. It's just that we kind of see what can be done to advance the industry.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. Like, they don't need to know that it's fucking crypto, you know? Like, if everything's built on the back end and you go into a game, you got a marketplace there, you got all the rest of it, the traditional gamers couldn't give two shits if, like, what's it turning into. As long as they can pull it out and fee it, well, then they're happy. So build
100.
the good game, which they haven't fucking done yet. And this is coming from me, not 8BitTendies, right? And stop making excuses like fucking PC people don't want to buy their NFTs. Like, I'm telling you right now, there's more than 100 fucking people that have the money in NFTs and crypto that use computer that could buy a Spider Tank NFT and play the game. So that's not an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, as an like, I consider myself an investor. I'm not like a Roy boy or nothing like that. But at the end of the day, man, like, it has to make sense. Like, don't sell it like it's an investment if it's not. Like, I'm not trying to throw hate around you, man, but it's just like it frustrates me because I could see him making something really good, and I just see him like they essentially like, if you want to have a healthy river like ecosystem, right? You might go out and get rid of the carp and all the rest of it, so they stop eating out the levee banks and dirtying your water. With Gala Games, man, it's like, oh, we can't catch a fish, so fuck it, we're just going to drag the whole thing with a big net, and then we're just going to wipe it all out. But then once you do that, you got no fish. So if they tackle everything at once, well, then there's nothing else to tackle. So if it doesn't work now on mobile, then what? Then where are they going?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if the mobile play doesn't play out how they imagined, it's gonna be a tricky situation that they're gonna be in, right? Because it was almost announced as if like, this is the move. This is the move that's gonna blow us up. All these different mobile users. And look, to be honest about mobile, I'm also not a big mobile gaming fan. When they made their announcement about picking up that studio, we kind of quickly found out there was Ember Studios. We looked it up, saw what kind of catalog of games they had, and Meow Match and the Match 3 games, or like whatever. That's something that I really don't play myself. So I personally wasn't too excited. I mean, I'm excited that the thing is, sometimes I have to forget that my opinion also, or how I feel about games, may not apply to the general public, because part of what I saw as well is that when I looked at the reviews of some of these games, they had a lot of reviews that were pretty good. And it was from enough people that I'm like, oh, there actually is a good number of people playing Meow Match, whoever that may be, whether it's some mom or some kid or whatever. So I had to kind of step back a bit as well and be like, look, if it's not for me, it's not where I would go. I'm not excited, but maybe someone else is, and maybe there is a market out here for mobile. And the only mobile game I've ever really played a lot was Hearthstone. And that's because I started on the PC. And for people who don't know, Hearthstone is a huge CCG, collectible card game. And once they had the mobile app, it was just it's one of those games that's very convenient to just kind of, while you're eating or on the toilet or something, pick it up and play a few matches or whatever. And that kind of opened my world up a little bit to mobile. And then recently, I don't know if you played it yet. And again, I'm not just saying this to say it, but Eternal Paradox surprised me. They're doing a play test right now for 2 weeks, and it's like a 4X RPG, which I never really played before. Kind of reminds me of like Clash of Clans mixed with a little bit of RPG elements. And I've been losing sleep. I've been up till like 3 a.m, kind of hooked on that, like legit hooked because of the mechanisms in which they have, the reward mechanisms. They have so many things that you're constantly trying to upgrade and constantly uh, uh, hitting your dopamine, right? Like, ooh, building just finished, unit just is done, just 3 more minutes for this building to complete. Now you can go attack, and you're rewarded these items. You can upgrade, you can level up your. So it's all these mechanisms, of course, psychological. That one is like, I'm impressed. Like that one was like a mobile game. Like, okay, I'd play this. And I think a lot of people would play this as well. And there's a lot of positive reactions from it. So if they start putting out games like that as well, okay, I see it. The Meow Match and stuff like that, who knows? But again, I like to have like more of an optimistic view of like maybe there is a market out there that I don't know of, and maybe that is, if it's not my world, maybe it's someone else's world, and maybe they do play those type of games. So we'll see what happens with this mobile play. I was also a little bit impressed by how they're introducing the gem mechanism, where because I was like, even if you're introducing blockchain stuff like into these games, it's going to be hard getting them to sign up, use crypto or Gala to buy in-game items within a mobile game. But what they're doing with the gems makes a lot of sense, and that also impressed me. I'm like, okay, this makes sense when it comes to mobile. So yeah, interesting stuff.
I actually don't mind Dragon Strike.
Yeah. But you know what? Dragon Strike is Meow Match. Dragon Strike is the same thing. It's just it's cosmetically different. But you know what I mean? Like it's the same type of game, just that one is more for dudes. Where it's and look, I downloaded Meow Match. I played a few days. I got a few cats, and the upgrading mechanism and all that is always kind of what hooks me into those games. So sometimes it doesn't even matter if it's about little cats, as long as they have a good a loop or an upgrading mechanism in there. Then I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll play it. But I'm not playing it anymore.
So we've talked about music, Gala Games. Like, do you know much about the Gala movies at all, man, or not too much?
Man, that's one of the ecosystems that has been pretty slow. And I don't know if it's because of the nature of film. Maybe that's just a process that takes a lot longer to develop a film, or to find the right movie idea, get the right actors in place, and production and all that, right? I don't know much about it. I know that, and I own a node for both ecosystems. And so I'm running those nodes. But as far as like what they're doing, I know that right now they have a few projects in development. One is Ghost of Ruin, which also and again, this is a cool thing again that they're doing. Ghost of Ruin is an animated show, episodic. And so they sent down an email to everyone who owns, I guess, one of their badges, NFT badges, that gets you like special access to it. And they sent an email out. They said, hey, we're looking to animate some of our fans from the Discord and Gala ecosystem who've contributed or bought something. And they're like, just send in, a few pictures of yourself, and some of your favorite movie scenes, or how you want to die, because every character that's getting animated in is going to die in some certain way. So I thought that was pretty cool. And if they really truly do animate you into the show or movie, that again is a really cool way for them to add some sort of value that really makes sense now to own some sort of like film NFT. And if they continue to do things like that in the future, because I know that they've done even real life casting calls for another project. So just that alone is really cool. But it just looks like they have a few things in development. Oh, and they do have what's called a secret cinema club, So I believe if you're a node owner, you have access to a special kind of behind the scenes place where you can, every Friday they do like a comedy show in there. And so again, that's a little bit of value that gets added on. And I see where they're going with this. I just think they need the right projects, which they're also apparently signed with the Rocks production company and Mark Wahlberg. So let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, for sure, man. It is very interesting. It's probably one of the only nodes that I don't own is a movie node.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I bought one because I missed out on the founders nodes. So I'm like, let me take my chance here with film and music. I had a little bit of disposable income when those were first announced, and I had a little bit of FOMO, because they're like, hey, we're doing this drop, and who knows when the next ones are going to be out. So I was like, yeah, let me just pick one up and see. And I in general, I like to support that ecosystem. And again, one of those things that let's see what happens, because I don't know. I know a lot of people really aren't participating too much in that Discord or talking too much in there.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the hour now, man. I've got another question for you, but it's meant to be more of a humorous one. But if you blow up in the music industry, will you still talk to the common folk like myself, or?
Dude, of course, man. I mean, dude, like that's what it's about. I'm trying to be as open as possible right now with everyone doing any type of content in this space, or anyone who's just generally interested. There's something really cool about logging into the Discord, recognizing the different names, and eventually you kind of recognize everyone's different type of style of humor, right? Meme culture within there, and it's just something. In the morning you wake up, everyone does a GM. And so it's really cool interacting with the community. So I'm going to continue to do that, because I look at it like, if I was a fan of an artist, I think that would be really cool for that artist to do. And in general, even just other content creators in the space, no matter the channel size, no matter if they're just starting out or whatnot, like I think all this that we're doing right now, the collaboration aspect of it is key.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked with, like, let's just say I've talked with some creators already, and then like they're one way on camera, one way off camera, and certain creators, they see you different if you have smaller channels than them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Like, one thing I appreciate about you for the conversation we've just had is that you've literally got a signed deal with Gala Music, but it's evident that you're not owned as far as your opinion. Like, you've been pretty open to some of my negativity towards it, because I am becoming a bit pessimistic in the space. And, like, at least you're willing to actually stand up and have a voice in, in regards to this sort of stuff, man, because most of the people that I've seen, and I won't name, but they sort of get a deal with Gala and then they become the biggest Gala shills you've ever seen. You know what I mean?
So I'll tell you what, even though you see that little Gala neon sign back there, and I do like to support Gala, I'm not a signed sponsor. I could say whatever I want. And I think that you have to be open and honest. When you only say good things about an ecosystem or anything in general, you quickly can tell that person probably isn't being too honest, because no one is perfect. There are always hiccups, but in general, I think that I like to be optimistic about things, especially about things that I truly don't know about, because here's what I see sometimes, that people assume that they know what's going on the back end. I personally don't know how hard it is to develop a game or to implement, the smallest or the biggest change. And we get a lot of people that talk on a Discord or on Twitter, and they get mad that, hey, it's been a month or 2 months and this hasn't been implemented yet. And who the hell knows how easy that is to really do. So when it comes to things that I really truly don't know about, or I can't see happening on the back end, I just try not to comment on it, or have a more optimistic view as far as like, look, if they say they're working on it, they're probably working on it. And, you know, if it comes out to light that it wasn't, then I'll be first to admit it. But I think as probably one of the biggest ecosystems right now in the space that's doing just in general Web3 entertainment, they're probably the biggest, which is why I support them the most. And one of the reasons that I don't want to be sponsored by them so I've done 1 or 2 sponsored videos in the past last year, but one of the reasons I don't want to be sponsored is so I can just say whatever, and so that people don't think that I'm just saying stuff because I'm a sponsored by them, and that way I can just be open and honest, you know what I mean? But
you're putting the community
I just
first,
support
man.
Yeah. You know, so I'm just looking forward. I'm just hopeful that they can build out what they want to build, because I want to see Miranda. I want to play Miranda's, right? So
same.
I'm positive about Miranda. I want to see it happen, right? So why shit on it, you know? And I try to defend it if people, you know, talk trash about it. So because I again, if you look at it from a gamer first perspective, because I think a lot of people as well, they invested a lot. Maybe they invested when Gala was high, the token, and now their token price is down. And they're like, when are you going to do something that's going to increase my token price, right? So they're looking at it like an investor. And once I kind of pivoted my mindset to like, man, let me just think about this as like they're dropping interesting games. Fuck the investment. Fuck trying to make money out of it. I'm just interested in the games that they're putting out. You see it differently, because now I'm just like, oh, they just did a teaser for this game. This looks interesting. Oh, they just updated this game. Oh, they're doing this to this game, versus like, how is this going to affect my bag? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I reckon we'll end it there, man. And like, I really appreciate you coming on to have a chat, and I hope to speak to you again soon. And I wish you nothing but the best, man. I think that you're on the right path.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I will come on whenever you want me, and we'll keep in touch on Twitter and Discord.
Sounds great, man. Just hang around for a couple of minutes if you don't mind.
Yep.
All right, catch you.